time. All right, let's call the July 21st meeting of the Board of Commissioners to order. Could you please stand and face the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Debbie, could you please call the roll?
Porter.
Here.
Gross.
Here.
Lampley.
Here.
Remick.
Here.
Stover.
Here. All right, so looks like everybody is present, so we have a quorum. The minutes have been circulated, and everyone should have had a chance to read over them. Do we have any changes, corrections, or anything that needs to be done to the June 16th and July 14th minutes? We have a motion to approve the June 16th and July 14th minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes. All right, confirmation of the agenda. The agenda's been circulated. Everybody's had a chance to look at it. Do we have any additions, changes? Did you have something to say, Debbie? Yeah. You looked like you were about to. Oh, we will, yeah. All right, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We have our local county commissioner, Shannon Pickard, here with us tonight. Thanks for coming, Shannon. I think you're probably here in your 911 emergency services capacity tonight, maybe? I don't know.
Whatever you
Or
want.
just, okay. Multiple capacities. We'll change hats throughout the meeting as you see fit. So. All right, announcements from commissioners. Gordon, do you have anything?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Lynn? Gary?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right. I don't have anything tonight either. All right, it's community input time. If you'd like to speak to the commission, please approach the podium, state your name and address, and you're on the agenda, Dawn, so you don't have to now. You can talk later. But anyone else that would like to speak, now would be the time to do it. Anyone? All right, doesn't look like anyone. All right, the consent agenda. Do you have anything for department reports? I mean, we've all had a chance to read them. Do you have anything to add, Debbie?
No, other than, I told you all, you won't get your June financial reports until the books are closed. So, and we did get whole income tax in today, and it's, we budgeted 35 and we got in 75, 83. So, got a little push there. Clint will be coming in asking for his truck.
He's gonna.
He's like, that
Brady's waving her
looks
hand
like
right
a dump
now.
truck over there, doesn't it?
Well, he thought that's what a hall tax was.
HAUA.
Yeah.
And I think Brandy had.
I do have one thing I wanted to add. You guys know about the recent break-ins we've had into our two park sheds. They're damaged, they can't be locked anymore, so we've had to start sharing or putting our stuff in one of Clint's sheds for now until we get a new one. I'd like to ask that we go ahead and put in the budget, and I didn't ask for that before because it happened after we passed the budget, but I need a new building. And we had priced out the metal, just like we have down there now with the, the metal doors, just the metal buildings. It'll be a concrete pad and the same metal building that we already have down there. It'll be big enough that we can park Scott's truck in that building, and that way Trevin's truck that keeps getting broken into can be parked inside the sewer building. But anyways, it'll be about $7,000. Maybe $7,500, depending on.
Looks like the hall tax is already finding many uses.
Well, I was gonna ask for this long before she announced the hall tax, so. Just because we need a building.
Once we have that though, and I know you guys have
We're
all been looking at what's going to happen to really secure that? I mean, is there anything we can do to?
Well, the buildings we have now are just those wood structures that you get at Home Depot,
Yeah.
and all they've done is just bust through the wood. I mean,
Okay.
These are a lot more secure.
Clint is looking at some more fencing and moving some fencing and lighting to start with.
Okay.
There may be, in the future, an alarm.
Camera system or something, but
He's
I mean-
kind of pricing those, but the first steps are gonna be lighting and some more fencing.
I'll be honest,
and some fencing.
the things that have been broken into, A, is Trevin's truck that sits outside, it's not locked up, and the two wood metal, not the two wooden, just
Wooden.
storage sheds, they just pop them open.
He didn't leave a poke in
No. So anyways, we're asking for the same building that we already have down there, we're just gonna use it for parks, and we're gonna move the gator and put the truck and stuff in there, hopefully contain some of this stuff up better.
Okay, yeah. Sounds good to me.
You all will
Things
have
keep
to
on getting broken into,
make a
then it
motion
won't,
to amend the budget.
okay.
Should she prepare something and put it on the agenda for the next meeting?
That's fine, if that's
I
I
what
mean,
you
I
would
think we
like.
should.
Okay.
Is that too late, or you'd probably like to do earlier than that?
No, it's fine, we're sharing Clint's right now. I
Okay.
mean, we wanna get the trucks locked up, the ones that are outside, because we've had a couple of chainsaws and stuff stolen out of those.
So you want me to just put it on the agenda for next month?
Yeah, we could go ahead and maybe do the pad and then wait on the building. I mean, it's a two-part thing. We gotta have a pad for, to put the building on.
Do you have a pad now?
No, sir, they're just those wooden,
Leave pads out in this golf course.
So call number 1 and 2, we put pads.
that'll be about the size of the building.
All right, is there anything else under department reports? What do we need to do?
Well, you just need to tell me, I mean, if you wanna do it now, you need to make an emotion to amend the budget. If you want it to put on the agenda, you just need to let me know to add it to next month's agenda.
Do we know a
Yeah,
price,
let's-
I mean, a close price or something, we can
The,
set
bu- the building that Clint currently has right now was $3,800. We're kinda gonna use the same building, it just won't have as many doors and windows and stuff, it's just gonna have one roll-up door. The biggest fluctuation is concrete pricing right now, so we'll just have to see how much the concrete pad's gonna be.
Well, and you've got
What
a,
size
you've got
is
a
it?
situation that.
Clint's right now, I couldn't tell you, but it's big enough that he can park his truck in there, both mowers.
I think it's 20 by 28, but I'm not positive. It's really close to
We're just trying to take our 2 storage sheds down to 1.
So we can.
We could go ahead and,
Let's do a motion on that.
make the motion to at least get the concrete figured or whatever, and then we could amend the budget at a later time, allow Debbie and them to
Yeah.
some
Have you
leeway.
got enough money to do your pad in your current budget?
Right now I do, because it's just a month in, but I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how much a concrete pad's gonna be, honestly.
We
I can do
take
it out of there
you can
till,
go ahead
oh,
and
I
add
can
it.
do it out of there till we
Yeah,
get
and
in.
then we can
Oh,
amend the
absolutely.
budget once.
Absolutely.
Okay, do we have a motion to go ahead and lay a concrete pad for a storage building?
Motion to lay a concrete pad for a storage building up to 20 by 28.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, hearing none, motion passes. Is there anything else under department reports we need to cover? No. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, all right. All right, on to legal updates. We have a legislative update, which is always fun.
It's
So
always exciting, so.
what kind of new treats we have? So-
Yes, we have several new things. So I went through, legislature was busy this last session, but I pulled out pretty much only the things that apply to the cities. First one that's probably the most popular change that the legislature made, of course, is lawn and grocery stores. And something that may come back to affect Kingston Springs, and I think Debbie told me that y'all did not have, no one at the time had approached to have the, put on a referendum about the grocery store.
Didn't Mike Lawrence pull a petition for that, or wasn't he going to, or
I think he did, but it was,
did it not get enough
it was
signatures?
after we had already, no one was interested when the first time it came
Right.
through, and then he came through after that had already.
But would that be to put it on the November ballot, or? I don't know.
But, I mean,
That's a
nothing's
good
been turned
question.
into us.
I know the deadline, of course, for the August ballot's already come and gone. I don't know the answer to that question. I would have to check into that. If that's something that does end up efficiency screens, one of the interesting things about the law is it applies to a grocery store's definition as anything that sells 20% food. So you would think that would only be a grocery store, but it could also be a convenience store. And that's something convenience stores are starting to look at doing. I'm not aware of any personally that have gotten through the ABC, because the ABC would be the one that would regulate whether or not they got the 20% of eater snacks or whatever it is. So that's something that's kind of new on the horizon and it'd be interesting.
And that would
to see.
apply to most of our gas stations, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It would apply to all of them,
All of it.
Right.
because that's
Right.
probably the majority of their sales.
Right. So that will be kind of interesting to see how that comes to fruition. So I think the assumption of the public is that it's a true grocery store, but it's not, as long as they do 20% sales of food. Next one deals with alcohol as well, and that is the change of 57.3224, which would allow the delivery of alcohol along with prepared food. So if you had a delivery service that started for the pizza restaurant here in town, you could look at maybe doing some kind of alcohol, and that would be either from a packaged liquor store, or it would have to be somebody who has a beer permit for all consumption. So, that may be something that somebody picks up on, and we may have somebody come and apply for that. The other alcohol change really is not going to apply to us as much, but it does allow for the sale of alcohol in airports. And I'm sure y'all have all been to an airport where you can buy duty-free alcohol and take it with you on the plane. And that will be something that you'll be able to do internationally. And that may have some change in our income level or stuff when we sell packaged liquor stores. Next one is 44A408, they amended that allows the local governments, by passing an ordinance, we have to pass that first, from animal control to be able to pick up a dog found trespassing. And then they would have to go through the regular procedures on that. So that may be something y'all want to think about or consider, or maybe put in the back of your head. The next one deals with what is called the Iran Divestment Act.
Real quick, so what was the one on animals being trespassing animal? I mean, can't animal control already pick up an animal that's trespassing?
This would be trespassing on private property, and it.
Okay, so they can't go onto private property currently and remove an animal.
And it doesn't, I assume that if they did pick up the dog, they would have to go through the same protocol that they would, if they picked up the dog on the road or something. But it would be for private property. So
Okay.
if you have a stray dog in your yard, you can call them, and this would give them some more teeth as far as picking up the dog. The Iran Divestment Act says that the state of Tennessee, after 120 days after the effective date of the act, will publish a website, and it will have a list of persons determined to be engaged in investment activities in Iran. And it prohibits a person identified on the list from contracting with local government and makes any contract entered into void. So when we put something out for bid, I assume within the next 3 months, 4 months, we will have a list of people that we can run award contracts to. I have no idea how the state's gonna make that determination, but they will be providing us with a list. Next one is dealing with stalking. The definition of stalking has changed somewhat for our police department, and it's kind of a little bit more broad in that it can be indirect or through a third party by any action, method, device, or means follows, monitors, looks at, has surveillance on, threatens or communication to a person or interferes with a person's property. This also includes sending electronic communications through electronic mail, text messages, and other platforms using the internet, websites, or social media. So Chief Ivy, this could include stalking on Facebook. And I think that's what the intention of that change in the law was. Next one, finances. It authorizes the comptroller to allow cities to submit a two annual budgets every 2 years. Instead of doing an annual budget, it kind of changes that. I'm not sure how that will work out, but that is the change. Firearms, there's some new signage, statutory signage, and it requires the signs to be of certain height and width. And we have until January 1st, 2018 to replace existing signs. So that may be something that I get with Brandy, like what we have in our parks, and we'll have to
Now,
address that.
something that was interesting though is the Guns and Parks legislation didn't change any this year, did it?
No, I did not.
Because the Guns and Parks legislation read, I think we did change our signage, but the Guns and Parks legislation said that you could still leave your signs up for whatever reason, and they could say no firearms, you know, so they said that, because they said that it was a no cost, they said, revenue neutral legislation, so you could leave your signage up, so, okay, well, I guess this
So we
would,
may just
this would
have
kind
to
of force
look
your
and
hand
make
on
sure.
that.
We changed ours
We
already.
changed ours anyway, that didn't,
Okay.
so.
And apparently, we may just, Randy, I'll get with you and we can look, and it has to be a certain height and width, even the words have to be a certain size. So, I guess maybe not really changing it, but tweaking it as far as the signs. This one's kind of interesting. This one's called the Tennessee Heritage Protection Act of 2016. I don't know that this would apply to the city. I don't know if there's been anything that's been in controversy, but it provides a no memorial regarding a historic conflict, entity, event, figure, or organization that is on public property may be removed, renamed, relocated, altered, rededicated, or otherwise disturbed or altered without the permission of Tennessee Historical Commission. This is probably as a result of a lot of the issues.
Nathan Bedford for us.
An issue. So, and I don't know if we have anything in the city that's a historical.
I don't think we do. We have the Civil War marker things, but those are new and not very controversial.
The next one is a nice perk for cities. It awards attorney fees and reasonable cost to government employees if they're sued in their individual capacities. So if Chief Ivy is sued in his official capacity as the chief of police, and he goes out and hires his own attorney, then he would have a right to attorney fees awarded to him. Not saying he's going to, but,
That's not, that's, what was the impetus behind that one? That's not the one, that was a different piece of legislation about sexual harassment in the state capitol, right? Or is that the
Yes,
same
this
legislation?
has
It's
nothing
completely
to do with
separate.
The next one just is a immunity from civil liability if there's a posting, that the business, wants to prohibit weapons, and they're immune from civil liability for any claim that a person might bring based upon the person, business, or entity's failure to prohibit weapons on posting on the property.
Just for kind of, that's the one where if I prohibit firearms in my business, I'm liable for anything that might happen to somebody if they're injured by a firearm at my business, right? Or
It
is that-
gives
okay.
you some immunity from civil liability.
Okay.
That a person may bring for the prohibition of the weapons. next one deals specifically to municipalities, and it's by prohibiting a municipality from requiring a company bidding or contracting to provide services on public construction projects to employ individuals who reside within the municipality or within a specific income range. So we cannot, if somebody's gonna put in a bid, we can't say that your employees have to reside within Ashland, or within Kingston Springs, or that they have to have a specific income range.
That was in reaction to Nashville's city ordinance.
Yes.
We have nothing like, so.
We are now limited in asking certain questions during the hiring process. And it's pretty much kind of the same type things that we've had in the past. But it's kind of just a way of somewhat controlling the city when they have the hiring process, and when we get ready to interview, we need to look at this and make sure that it's not, you know, ask those questions, it's not on the applicant, those kind of things. The next one deals with Chief Ivy. It's a policy related to public disclosure of drugs and alcohol contributing to an accident. It requires every law enforcement agency to adopt a policy, so we'll need a separate policy that describes when law enforcement personnel may disclose to the public information or records concerning the use of drugs or alcohol by a driver is a contributing factor in a motor vehicle accident. Policies required include that a good faith effort is made to notify the immediate family before such information is disclosed. So if John Doe is under the influence and hits a light pole, you can't release that to the press until you make a reasonable attempt to contact John Doe's. The next one is allows employees of public institutions of higher education carry handguns on property owned. And I don't think we have any higher educations or any satellite schools or anything in here, but I did include that one. The next one is law enforcement as well. Is that law enforcement is required to provide victims of domestic assault, abuse, vandalism, false imprisonment, stalking, or order of protection or restraining order violations information about the Tennessee statewide automated victim information and notification service. Requires the officer to provide written materials if they're available and inform the alleged victim about the purpose of the program and requirements of participating. And you should be able to get something from the district attorney's office.
We already have.
Okay. Next one deals with proof of financial responsibility. It has changed. You have to have written proof of liability insurance coverage of at least $65,000 through a single limit policy applicable to one accident, a split limit policy of not less than $25,000 for bodily injury or death, and not less than $50,000 for bodily injury or death to two people in one accident, and not less than $15,000 for damage to property. Or you can do a deposit of cash, which is a little different, or you can do a bond with commissioner's safety. And if you already have a policy, if you pull someone over and they already have a policy that does not meet that, then they are in fine with what they currently have in the policy limits until they have to renew their policy. The next one is a prohibition against zoning purposes of establishing long-term affordable or workforce housing. It prohibits local governments from enacting or enforcing any zoning regulation, requirement, or condition of development imposed by land use or zoning ordinances, resolutions, or regulations. Special exceptions or subdivision plans that require the direct or indirect allocation of a percentage of existed or newly constructed private residential commercial rental units for long-term retention as affordable or workforce housing. I don't think that's really an issue here. Can't do that. This next one's kind of interesting. It is the temporary family health care structures. And I don't know if y'all heard anything about this. It says that a zoning ordinance may be the operative word and not shall, consider a temporary family health care structure as a permitted accessory use in a single-family residential zoning district on lot zone for single-family detached dwellings when the structures are being used by a caregiver and providing care for a mentally or physically impaired person. The structure is on the property owned or occupied by the caregiver. And then there's some particulars that go into that. So I guess that would be if you had grandma out in your detached garage, that would be a permissible, you could allow that to be a permissible site. And there's some regulations that go with that. The next one deals with, and I don't know if this is something we currently do, it allows authorized entities to use the how do you say that, Epicurean, auto injectors. I don't know if the police. Thank you. I don't know if that's something that we currently use, but that would be something that it's kind of extended that to the use for, more so for emergency, departments, and it provides immunity from civil liability. The next one is the Tennessee Prescription Safety Act of 2016. That basically says that provides that law enforcement personnel have access to confidential information in a controlled substance database as long as the personnel are engaged in the official investigation and enforcement of state or federal laws involving controlled substances or violations of this act. That it requires officers and agents of law enforcement agencies to be pre-approved through an application process in order to request the information from the database. And I don't know if this is something that we're currently using or not. So this would give you access to that if you decided to do that. Next one deals with purchasing for municipalities, and it amends 12.3.1205 by permitting local governments to enter into cooperative purchasing agreements with the federal government to the extent federal law allows such agreement. Provides that construction machinery and fuel products and lubricating oils cannot be purchased through a cooperative purchasing agreement within another state or federal government. The next one deals with municipalities as well. Amend 67.1.1704 by permitting the Tennessee Department of Revenue to disclose tax returns and tax information on local governments upon receipt of a written request when the information is being requested for purposes of ascertaining when the allocations from state levy taxes are being distributed to the correct units of local government. So I think that would be liquor taxes, the hall tax, anything like that.
That's deemed confidential now.
Yes, so you would be able to send a written request and get that information. Next one is it amends 10.7.504 by making proposals and statements of qualifications received by a municipality in response to personal service, professional service, consultation service requests for proposals, a request for qualification solicitation and any related records, including but not limited to evaluations, names, and evaluation committee members, and all related memorandums or notes confidential until the award for the contract is announced. So if you took, for professional services such as the city attorney, it would protect those records from being confidential until the award is announced.
Or they would be confidential until, okay.
We have an amendment to the Open Records Act. We are required to have a written public records policy in place by July 1st, 2017. And it has to be approved by this board. It's my understanding that the Office of Open Records Counsel is going to be doing a model best practice and policy. And they'll probably be doing that for us to, to approve. And of course, I would think we could tweak that to our liking, but they should be getting that to us within the next 6 months. So that will be a new policy for y'all to pass. 10.7.404 amended by making the identity of the vendors who provide to the state goods and services used for protection of government property, government employee information, or citizen information confidential. It also applies to local governments if you vote to make it confidential. Still, the amount paid to the vendor is public record, and the identity of the vendor must be provided to the comptroller. I can't think of a circumstance this would apply, but I guess if we, I don't know, contracted for, I guess if we had a security system, then the information about the security system would be confidential. We would just have to still release the amount that we were paying. I can't really think of any other way that it would. The whole income tax. The whole income tax is being basically somewhat done away with. It will be reduced to 5% per year, and then it's the intent of the General Assembly that the amount levy be reduced by 1% each year. So it will be 5%, and I guess the intent is that each year it will go down another percentage. There is a change, limitation on accessing the rollback taxes on disqualified property. If there is a change in the law or an assessor's correction of a prior error of law or fact, then that shall not have any effect on the rollback taxes, unless it's some fault of the landowner through fraud or misrepresentation. We're almost done. This one's kind of interesting. This one establishes that TDOT has sole and exclusive jurisdiction over the design, erection, installation, and maintenance of tourist-oriented directional signs that are located within the right-of-way of any highway that is part of the state highway system, including any signs within a municipality's corporate limits. I don't know if we have.
But only, it's a tourist.
It's only tourists.
Okay. So if there were other directional signs, like recently we had a request by some residents on the other side of the interstate for directional signs like we have on this side of the interstate.
I guess if you had like one.
But if we had
that was
one-
in the Harpa,
Then it
Then
would,
that would be
at
under
that point, it would
TDOT.
become, okay. Sounds like another hoop to jump through.
one, and we don't, it's just a change in the red light camera enforcement violations and citations. We don't have that here. But it seems like the legislature keeps making that a lot more constrictive because of issues. Extension of natural gas franchises. That a privilege or franchise for natural gas shall be extended indefinitely until such time as a subsequent natural gas privilege or franchise is approved by the Tennessee Regulatory Authority. We have one that's going to be coming up in the next 12 months. So if for some reason we forgot and didn't update it, then the current franchise agreement that we had would stay in place. And then, of course, the Tennessee Regulatory Authority always has to approve all those anyway. That's been long, pretty long. But that basically we just leave it in play. And I think that's it. There's some workers' comp stuff, but nothing that specifically is applicable to the cities. And that's it.
All right, well, thanks for that, yeah.
I
Probably the most
know
you'll
that
have-
was very enlightening,
The
right?
most you'll have to talk all year, I think. All right, on to unfinished business. Item A is property for the county fire station. I guess that would be you, Chief Ivy.
I went before the Emergency Services Committee, I don't remember the exact day, 3 weeks ago, I believe. And they're considering that piece of land. They have one other piece of land on Cedar Hill Road that Edwin Hogan is in negotiation with. I spoke with Edwin this week, and there's still not a decision on that. Now, the Emergency Services told me the intent is to make a final decision on the land in their August meeting, which should be the first Wednesday of August. So, I should know something, and I have left Mr. Petty messages, keeping him up to date with where we're at. So I had spoke with Jennifer, and we have not done a contract. Mr. Petty was okay with not doing a contract until the county says, that they will accept that piece of land. So that's where we're at.
Just to kind of piggyback on that, where are we also with the funds for the fire truck?
I also went to the Emergency Services Committee. They approved the $100,000 down payment for the
Okay,
truck.
great.
And then it went before a full county commission Monday night, and it passed full county commission.
Mhm.
So the money will stay in our account until it comes time for a down payment to be made, which will be a ways down the road. It'll stay in our account.
Very good.
And both Pigram and Ashland City have approved it as well.
Oh, yes.
I guess we're the last municipality.
All right, item B would be the approval of the fire contract with the county, or is that what you were talking about?
Yes, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry, okay.
Yeah.
I added an item of the fire truck on there, so.
Gotcha. Sorry. I jumped ahead of you.
All right, approval of the fire contract with the county. Chief Ivy, I guess, or Jennifer.
I mean, I'm
Been updated.
completely on board with the language of the contract.
Right, yeah.
It worked out very well, and the increase.
Sounds like we ended up a little better than we expected, right?
Yeah.
So,
And also the increases in there for picking up the additional area too there. So overall, the contract increase probably, I don't know exactly, but she has the contract here to vote on tonight, so you can see the final amount.
And that's the one that Ashland City and
and Pegram have already approved. And you all have had a chance to read it, or? Okay, I assume, so we need to have a motion to approve the fire contract with the county.
Motion to approve the fire contract with county?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes, and now we're finally in compliance with the days that we weren't, so. All right, item C, ordinance 16-004, amending ordinance 12-001 for competitive bids, and this is the second reading of that ordinance. Do we not have a public hearing on this morning? Or did we? No.
I talked to to Jennifer, and it doesn't require.
It doesn't require one.
All right, well, this is what we did we voted on this once last time, of course, and this was just so that we can change our bid process so that we can give some priority to our local bidders. So do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, ordinance 16-004.
Second?
Second?
Any comments or conversation? Do you have something to say, Glenn? Sound like
No,
you're
I
about to.
like it.
All right, nothing else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, item D is ordinance 16-005, driving police vehicles home. Once again, we spoke this, or wait, no, this is actually the first reading of this, but we've been talking about this for some time, and you should have had a chance, I think today, you got a copy of this ahead of time to read through. This is to expand it to a 15-mile radius from City Hall, so that our officers can take their vehicles home. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Is there any comments, questions? Discussion, nothing? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Do we need to set a public hearing for that? Second reading.
You know, there's this real interesting thing, is that we all thought you had to do public hearings, but you only have to do public hearings for zoning and budget.
Zoning and budget. Okay, great.
Because
All right. Ordinance 16-006. This is the dog tethering ordinance that I brought up last time. You all should have gotten that yesterday, I believe. That was when that first went out.
Can I interject something before we make a motion?
Sure. Well,
Number 7, the animal has access to water and shelter. Is there any way we already have maybe a description of what shelter instead of a cardboard box? Is there any way we can come up with anything that would give us a description of shelter? Because it's very broad. You know, somebody says, well, I got a cardboard box around it. Well, that's may not satisfy shelter, in my opinion.
yeah.
And that's the only thing I saw that would left it kind of open. If somebody says, well, it's accessible to water and shelter, and then you see a tent around it or something, you know, and I just really think we need to clarify that one item just a little bit more.
What we can do is add structure under 10-401 under definitions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of a definition.
Weather-resistant structure possibly, or
Does it
something
say
like that, or
weather-resistant
something that keeps the dog
structure?
sheltered from inclement weather.
So that means it has to have food out all the time. It says adequate access to adequate food. Does that mean the whole time that he's?
Well, I would assume that, I mean, once again, I don't know how you define adequate in this case, but adequate, I would assume would be, that language is there, you know, if there's a dog out there that's clearly not been fed for some time, they have not adequately been fed. That is very, I guess, kind of subjective language, but,
Well, I think adequate food would mean that, you know, you're not starving, that you're making an attempt to at least provide food of some sort.
Well, you could strike out that has access and just have adequate food. Then
And the shelter, what I kind of jotted down is weather-resistant structure with appropriate climate control. So that at least, you know, about 110 degrees in
they have HVAC.
I didn't put that have age, but just some kind of,
Put a blanket over, yeah, yeah.
You know, look, Montgomery County has a pretty good definition of their shelter, what is required. I mean, I don't want to read it all right now, we'd be able to take a look at that. That's Montgomery County, Tennessee, really.
They have a
defines
really
shelter.
good definition. Well, I mean, could you go ahead and share it with us if it's not too?
Shelter, the house should be constructed of plastic or painted wood, metal rust and conducts heat or cold. Make sure it does not leak and that it faces the south in the winter and the north in the summer. It should be of adequate size to allow the dog to enter the house while standing upright and adequate space for the dog to turn around. When the dog lies down in the house, no part of the animal shall protrude from the house. Raise the house off the ground several inches, put a flap over the door or an old rug or rubber mat with strips to cut vertically. The roof shall be extended 8 inches over the doorway to keep out rain. Use straw, newspapers, or cedar shavings for bedding. Nailed or strip of wood at the bottom of the doghouse door to keep from spilling out. Do not use rugs, rags to absorb the water they can freeze. Put water in a sturdy, tip-resistant bowl or bucket to prevent tipping. Check several times a day for freezing during the winter and empty during the summer.
That's about
About as broad as it is.
Detail, I don't know if that's
That's
very
very
detailed,
detailed.
but
That's
it,
good.
you know, it really kind of defines,
Dog
you know,
condo.
each paragraph defines the shelter.
Yeah, if y'all were okay with that, I can copy and paste that.
Okay, I mean, you know, and that's good. I mean, the primary, you know, reason for this is just that I drive around every now and then, and you just see these situations where people leave their dogs out all the time, and it's 100-some degrees out, or actually the situations where I've seen it the most is it's like 0 degrees out, and they let out a little dog on a chain sitting in the front yard, and you know, that's just not acceptable with no place for them to go.
Right.
And I just wanted to give the ability of, you know, of you all to be able to say, hey, maybe you should take your dog inside, you know.
And that first little portion, the first couple of sentences really define the shelter. The
Yeah,
rest
I
of
think
it
that
gets into
that
real
was pretty good
specifics.
in that first.
God, I'm perfectly fine with that.
So we could approve it on first reading with that addition to come up before we finally approve it next time.
Yes.
With, you know, with
Everything else seems
amending
okay.
the shelter language,
Yes.
and then we also want to amend the adequate food. Where was it?
It's on the same one, number 7.
Has access to adequate food.
Saying just to take it, has access to that.
Yeah, has adequate food, or it's adequately fed. Oh,
Yeah,
I think adequate food.
that's fine. With those corrections, I make a motion to approve ordinance 20-16006 on first reading.
we have a second, Gary. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, hearing none, ordinance 2016-006 passes on first reading. All right, item F is the cyber ethics ordinance that you should have also received a copy of earlier today. We've gone over it last time and discussed it to some degree. It's ordinance 2016-007. Maybe we'll have a chance to read through this. Did you have any, Bob, this is kind of,
It's not 16-007.
Have I got the wrong number?
that's a resolution, this is an ordinance.
Oh, okay. So this was it.
Sewer is a resolution. You have the numbers, what's on the.
And this is an MTS model policy.
Okay.
That I tweaked.
Subterfuge.
So,
Glenn learned with subterfuge. So has everyone had a chance to read through this and kind of get an idea? Is
Yes.
it adequate for what you were kind of looking for, Bob?
Yes.
And, Mr. Langley, you had asked last month to make the determination who was gonna post on Facebook and be in charge of all that. And what we decided was that each department head would be responsible, and of course, then the city manager could anytime tweak the day they so chose to do so.
So for material pertinent to their
Yes.
area.
So,
And I believe you also said that you added the cyber liability to the
I did.
policy, so I think we're in good shape for that reason.
that was a great idea, because that's what
Thank
you
you.
did.
All right. Do we have a motion to pass ordinance 2016-007?
Motion to approve ordinance 2016-007.
Second?
Second.
Any comments? Questions? questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. I've lost my place here. The divers, all right. This is a contract. Basically, we've discussed this over, we had divers that went in and retrieved discs from that get lost along the way during the course of playing a game of disc golf, and this is to allow divers to go in and retrieve the discs from the pond up to 2 times a year, so that they can, I assume, redistribute those to their rightful owners, and or at least make a sincere attempt to do so.
Clean up the pond.
And clean up.
I did, just so y'all will understand why it's worded that way in here, is, because you have to have consideration in a contract for both sides.
Right.
So, the divers have to have some consideration as well. So I put in here that the consideration for their services is they would be awarded whatever disc they're able to recover. And what they do with those, if they return them to the rightful owner or whatever, is their prerogative. But they have to have some kind of consideration for the work that they're performing and having the insurance and that kind of thing. And I did, Mr. Lawrence had seen this and approved it, but we did add, right before coming in here, just damage to any diving equipment, they would be responsible for that as well. That's the only change. The new rollers. And it just providing the certificates for the insurance.
All right. And nods from the half of the diving team seems to indicate
I received an
approval
email
of.
prior to coming. I had already forwarded the gentleman that or the shop that we were insured through, and he is getting that a part of the insurance.
Great.
And I believe it's in the $3 to $5 million insurance range. So, not that we would have so much.
All right, so there it is. It sounds like all the parties are in agreement. Do we have a motion to
Make a motion to
Approve this
accept the agreement with the exception, we're just going to make this agreement with the 2 parties that we're speaking of now, not someone else coming in wanting to do the same thing.
Exactly.
This
It's
is
just
not,
with them.
it's just between us and them, so it's an agreement as stated here, so we're not making this competitive. So with the insurance and all that changes, I make a motion we accept it.
second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. All right. On to new business. We have Ms. Gusty here to talk about handicap accessibility to the Harp at the River. Come on forward.
My
Our
husband's
state.
gonna help me, this
Yeah.
is John.
And John, we welcome.
Okay.
Can do this from the seat, right?
Yes, yes.
It's fine.
Yeah. Real quick though, based upon something we learned at this meeting, Randy, I'm pretty certain that 20% of the sales out of the snack bar at the park is food. That could fundamentally change the parenting dynamic of Saturday morning soccer games. Just a thought, okay?
That would change the dynamic.
Yes, it would. Anyways, this is what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to talk about it as a PDF of that and a expanded image of that if you want to.
Okay.
Check
Do
it
we-
out.
Is this the only copy we have? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, I'll just run through this real quick. The proposal is to expand upon the current handicap accessibility at L.L. Burns Park, specifically in regards to handicap access to the river. The current situation, we've got one spot down there making the pond accessible, and the idea would be to extend the access from this point towards the river, with the final access point being what I'm calling the beach area. I think we all know what we're talking about there. If not, it's diagrammed in the photo. And utilizing the path that's currently being cut and maintained that allows access to that said beach area. Just roughing it out, talking about just shy of 1,200 feet of handicap and more specifically wheel-friendly pathway. tie into the current pond dock as a starting point and commencing at a similar wheel-friendly dock located in the beach area. Aside from, I included some obvious, aside from the obvious cost deflectors like grants, which we would be more than happy to do the legwork on that. Use of local youth groups, eager for community-based projects, which we have ties to. The use of local scouting factions, eager for community-based projects, which we also have ties to. And local area sponsors via creative artistic integration along the pathway, use of signs, plaques, sponsored benches, all very doable ways of deferring costs of this project. And aside from the obvious benefit, Dawn and I have been going down there for years now, and just been doing it the old-fashioned way. I mean, we get as far as this thing goes, and then I just piggyback her the rest of the way. We started looking around, and there is literally no area in, not just Kingston Springs, but in this general area, there, that has handicap access to the river. So it would be an interesting.
By the Parks Department,
Yeah,
that there's no access anywhere.
it would be an interesting boast point for the city.
Yeah.
And then, the obvious thing to me is that beach area and that pathway gets used anyways. People are using it on a daily basis, so this would only enhance that pathway and just make it more enjoyable for everyone, including handicap accessible, wheel-friendly access.
John, I agree with everything you're saying, but if you check, we're gonna have to do check with the Corps of Engineers or TVA or somebody before we can do anything to the back of that river, I'm sure.
How far does the bank, how far is that? That would probably be a question.
I wonder how long, I mean, you've been down that stretch of beaches, it's been there for a while, I mean, what makes it change, I mean, does it not change through that area?
Yeah, obviously there's constant change because there's water flowing through there, but we're not even talking going down to that beach, just ending there where that general beach area is.
Then just access to, in general, to that area somehow.
Correct.
To get wheeled, via
Correct.
wheeled chairs, whatever, to that area. So that
Strollers.
strollers, anything
Yeah.
that would have trouble on
Right.
kind of difficult terrain.
Yeah, and so,
I'm just wondering,
I mean, I just have to ask, is it not, I mean, there's people with roll things down there all the time until you get to the actual
beach
entrance to
itself.
the beach itself.
I can go along that path, but I need to be pushed several times, and it's really hard on this thing. It's not conducive for someone to just roll on down. I do it anyway because I want to get there, and I'm determined, but I usually get stuck.
Is it
You
just
have to
because
push
of
me out.
the terrain?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's bumpy, if this gets stuck, it's real hard on this thing.
for the most part, like electronic things like this aren't meant to be taken in the grass. You know, it messes with the wheels, so any off-roading is, you know.
Now, this is all floodplain, right? So paving is off limits.
Yeah, I wouldn't even suggest it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So just more, I mean, really, it sounds like you just need better mowing or
No,
gravel
It's
or
bumpy, and
Yeah,
there's-
no, I don't.
leveling,
Yeah.
I suppose, or something?
Honestly, I think, and it could all be done with a combination of wood and pressed gravel, honestly.
Okay, so like a
For sure.
boardwalk type
But
thing.
that gets flooded, I mean, that whole
Yeah.
stretch, that's
It would be
underwater
washed out in no time.
yearly.
Yeah, that is,
Yeah, those kind of details I am not savvy on, but if you give me a point of things to, here's a to-do list, call these people, whatever, to find out how I can get there. I
yeah.
haven't been able to get there, you know, without him carrying me. I can't get there, I get stuck. And it would just be awesome, and then I talked with the the Tennessee Parks Association, I talked with someone there who was very intrigued by it and said there's not access anywhere on the Harpeth, anywhere along anywhere that he's even aware of. So, he was really jazzed about the idea and said, let's figure out a way to do it. So I guess the next step would be, you guys tell me if, tell me what to do, and I will make the calls or whatever we can do, or, I just wanna get down there. And I'm sure there are more. I can't possibly be the only person in this community that wants to get down there, so. But even if I were, I believe I have a right to get down there. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think it's a great idea, it's just figuring out how one would do it, I guess,
Yeah.
would be then what kind of materials it would take to make that happen in
I
a
know.
floodplain.
And the direction that you have, it might be better to wrap around the backside of the pond
There is that
also,
option as well.
as you
Yeah,
might
like obviously
have
that's not,
access to the
that was
pond
just
versus
a,
straight across that field, which,
yeah.
I only diagrammed that out because that would be the furthest distance, and I just wanted some sort of a number of feet that we could at least start the discussion with, so went the long way.
Well, I don't know that any of us are any more knowledgeable than, obviously, you are at this point. Actually, I think you enlightened most of us more than we were probably aware.
I think maybe the next steps would be to talk to the Corps of Engineers, and I can spec the project out. And like I said, I can probably, if we are so lucky and blessed to get to an actual implementation stage, I think we could even get a lot of that cost deferred as well.
Well, I know that sometimes the Eagle Scouts, they have projects they do for certain towns and cities, and we've had some here locally, not in the last couple of years, but several years ago, that tried to come up with projects that would be beneficial. So I think, I certainly want you to have access, if there's any way possible. Again, we want to do something that's going to last and not just wash out, or something. So, yeah, I think like Gary said, the Corps of Engineers is the most important process to get through, and then maybe try to figure out what can be done, or what the cost would be to do that, and see what we could do in some kind of fundraiser or whatever.
The only thing that I know is that, right straight across kind of where you're talking about, where it fell off, the bank is mud and clay and where it's
Right.
straight up and down. Well, years ago, we tried to fix a way to keep that from washing that bank away, and we called the Corps, I think it was the Corps, could have been TVA, but I think it's Corps of Engineers. And to help, they would come out and they was gonna help, but the cost, our cost was gonna be like $250,000. That was to like dump big rock off the side of that bank and keep that river from washing that out. And so that's different than what y'all are talking about. But still, when you get on their property, you can't just go down there and do what you want to on their property.
Yeah, I think the key here is just getting the proper.
It's our
permission.
property too, but I guess, but still, they're in control of it, so.
Yeah, and I know there is a definition of how far bank,
Yeah,
bank is
there
defined.
is, there is.
And I can't cite it, but I'm pretty sure that what we're talking about doesn't come close to it.
When you guys reached out to the different agencies, you talked to the Watershed Association?
No, this is really step number one, is bring it here
Yeah,
and
I'll let
start the
Dennis
discussion.
talk with the state.
Well, I could maybe help this much, my son works at the Corps of Engineers, and I make him find out who you need to contact
I'm not sure.
to find out that kind of information.
They'd be
That'd be
interested.
great. Appreciate
No,
it.
no, Cody, you know my son, I think.
The local representatives, Coors, and
Should be
name
TDEC.
on my cell phone, but I'm brain dead. I was looking for it. It's not on Corps of Engineers. But I do have a local person's contact information.
It should be Larry Nash with TDEC.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Larry
I was
Nash,
brain dead.
he's at Cheatham now. He goes to my church, so I know Larry too. So, if you got Larry Nash, is that whose number you got?
It is, you have a piece of paper and pencil? I'll give you his number. Almost.
Yeah.
It's 615.
Thank you. What was that?
615-792-5697 is his office, and it's Larry Nash.
Very nice guy.
And he's pretty knowledgeable about flood issues as well. Floodplains, so.
Fantastic. Thank you. back to that wine and parks. All in favor?
Second? I'll go for that.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, yes, well, it's definitely something we can hopefully all work to look into. I think it's a great idea to make the park as accessible to as many people as possible, so. All right. And thank you, if I didn't already say that. Item C is appointment of an administrative hearing officer. We had a special called meeting.
Got one, what about B?
Sewer rating.
Oh, sewer rate increase, sorry, 16 dash, this is your resolution, Bob. Dash 007, sewer rate increase. Anything need to be said about it? Everyone's had a chance to.
Just the increase that we do
Do
every
every
year
year.
as part of the budget.
All right, do we have a motion to approve resolution 16 dash 007?
So moved.
Second.
Or any comments, questions, discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, resolution passes. Item C, appointment of an administrative hearing officer. There we go. And I know we had a special called meeting last week to discuss this, and I believe you have some names and prices and
I do.
all those sorts of good things for us.
Martha Brooke and I came up with a lot of dead ends. They have to be a licensed attorney, or they have to have certain building certifications. We thought about Mark Armstrong or Sharon Caden. Neither one of them have these certifications. Made a contact to Tim Potter, who I think had applied for the city attorney position here, and never got a return phone call, as well as Jerry Smith out of Dixon.
Jerry didn't respond either.
No.
Did you call Larry Craig?
Did not call Larry Craig. There was, somebody had mentioned a Phil Buma, I can't read Martha Brooks'
And
name.
I
He
found
lives
out
in Texas
yesterday
now or
that
something.
he's moved.
Yeah, he's in
wasn't
Texas.
aware.
He's not an attorney, though.
No,
So I
but
don't
he's a
think-
building
Be
inspector.
expensive.
Oh, right,
He's
okay.
very compliant.
So he might would come, but it would probably be, not
Once
very
once
cost
a year or
effective.
All he still was tell me.
There are allegedly some administrative hearing officers that can be provided from the state. We made contact with Linda Perrin with the state, but never could get a list, never could get her to call us back. We did talk to two attorneys. One of them is Dan Small, who practices here in Cheatham County. He is very familiar with real estate, those type things. And then the other attorney that I talked to is Sam Edwards, who was the lobbyist and head legal counsel for GNRC. Sam is the guru for any kind of
Everything.
everything. I've known Sam 20-something years. Sam's hourly rate was $150, and Dan Small's hourly rate was $175. And then both of them requested that Kingston Springs would pay for the training and whatever CLEs. Did pull up on the website, looks like the training is offered by the Administrative Office of the Courts, and the cost was only $70.
Yeah, I mean, Sam seems like he'd be ideal for this.
Yeah, I didn't know if
Good
he,
to me.
because he's retired, but he, when I talked to him, he was holding bags at the mall with his wife. So I think it sounded a little bit
It's
more
ought to be more
promising.
fun than that, for sure.
He's like, oh yeah, that sounds like fun. So, I've known Sam forever, and anytime I have a legal question and need somebody to bounce it off of on any kind of zoning or anything, he's the person to call.
So, and he has said that he's willing to do this for $150 an hour plus cost of training, and I imagine travel and all that good stuff along with that. And the training, from what Martha Brooks said, we can go ahead and proceed with anything that an administrative hearing officer might need to do. Prior to him having the training, they just have to have the training sometime within a 6-month period, correct?
I think that is
So-
correct.
All right, so we basically have the choice between Dan Small and Sam Edwards. Do we have a motion to appoint one of these gentlemen?
Make a motion to appoint Sam Edwards as administrative hearing officer at a rate of $150 per hour plus pay for his training. as required.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have an administrative hearing officer. And that's for a 4-year term, correct?
Can I ask a question, is, the people that we're looking at need this person for, are they still going on with their project?
Oh, yes.
I think we'll,
And I've
We
asked.
will get to that.
That's on the agenda.
It's on the next thing.
actually, it's not quite the next thing. We have to amend the 2016-2017 budget to appropriate funding for the administrative hearing officer that we just appointed.
What amounts are you thinking, Debbie, we need to set aside for that? 5,000 or less?
I have no idea, Gordon.
I would think, I'd rather have more set aside and not use it all.
Right.
Um,
We got some issues, you know, we've been, I mean, the codes guys been just sending letters and they'll clean it up, and then, you know, I think it's time, if we're gonna do this, we just go after the ones that we just been, you know, if we're gonna we're either gonna clean the town up or we're not.
right.
So I think, you know, I was looking at somewhere around 5,000 for looking at the number of hours, and that may not be enough, but at least it'd be a start, you know, at 150 an hour. I don't know how that would figure out, but
That's what I was gonna look at, if you did 5,000.
be somewhere around,
It'd be 33 hours
yeah,
per calendar year.
yeah. And I mean, you know, we're not gonna be looking at a whole lot. If they're gonna schedule, we could schedule when he's here, let him take care of 2 or 3 or 4 things, like small court.
Right. And I'm sure Martha Brooke went over this with y'all last week, but this gives you a lot more teeth to our ordinances than just signing them in general sessions for you.
Correct.
A lot more teeth.
Well, I think we need to appropriate, my motion would be to appropriate at least a change of 5,000 as a start.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, if we don't spend it, we don't spend it,
We
but
don't spend it, we can always appropriate or change at some other date, so I think that's probably, if you all think it's acceptable, that's a good starting point as well. We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, and then this next item is the building code violation for 244 Hickory Drive. I think before we discuss this, we should recess the meeting and discuss this issue with the attorney. Do we have a motion to recess the meeting till, how long do you need, Jennifer?
Well, I guess it depends on how many questions y'all ask, probably 10 minutes.
All right, let's make it, let's adjourn till 8:30.
Motion to recess until
Or sorry, recess till 8:30.
Motion to recess until 8:30.
All right, second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
We have to actually go over the next building. All right, we have item E, building code violations for 244 Hickory Drive. We have an administrative officer appointed that can handle this, but this would be to pursue further legal action in the form of a lawsuit. Do we have a motion to proceed with a lawsuit for the code violations of 244 Hickory Drive?
Motion to pursue legal recourse against the code violations at 244 Hickory Drive.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion passes. All right. Now we're on to item 10, which is monthly discussions of surplus. Do we have any surplus items this month?
No.
No. Any other items?
I was
No?
gonna tell you that, James looked at Andy Sullivan's property and, which was, the lawsuit, and he is spreading out onto his brother's property. So James is in the process of sending him a letter and letting him know he's gotta pull it back in.
Okay.
He had his roof done. I think he was moving cars out of the front and putting them over there because of a roof project, maybe?
Well, and he may have, but they've not been moved, and there's a couple of vehicles there that have no windows, and the grass is as high as the vehicles. So he was just gonna kindly remind him that it just has to remain on his property, kind of thing.
Okay.
And I don't know, Tony, if you want to bring up anything about Lisa and how we cut.
Oh, yes, Lisa Vetterstein, I think she contacted Glenn, but
I
she
was
also.
confused with the properties.
Yeah.
She did, this is the Ivy property, she might have left, but it dealt, her mother had visibility issues getting out of there, and Debbie and I talked about it, Debbie sent Clint up there, and he took care of mowed it, she was very, very happy about that, but then we're also still looking into this, like whose property it
Well, James went up
is.
today and posted it condemned.
Okay,
And then, so the next process would be, you know, I think that it's gonna come up in August, is what I'm being told,
Tax
in
auction.
the tax sale. And if none of that pans out, well then, you do have the option to make a decision to, demolish it and put a lien on it.
okay.
Clint thought you ought to buy it so that you could, which was kind of made sense, that then that you could make that road like it ought to be around that curve. It would give you the room to move it out. He says right now you only have like 9 feet on each side,
Yeah.
and you can't get any wider. So I told him I'd let you know that was his thought process.
That's a good.
I hope that she seems to be content now.
At this
Oh,
point, she
yes,
seems very happy, so.
She contacted me also today.
Okay.
What's the acreage of that parcel?
I don't know, yours is a pretty good size little lot
That's a
there.
lot, yeah. I don't know.
Cause all that grown-up area on this side of it and that behind it is all included, but I don't really know the actual acreage. But supposedly it has this is how Larry explained it to me, that it has which we were confused, cause he called it TenCare.
Lean on it.
Lien on it, and he says that TenCare has rights, and that they don't have to record those liens. So if you go over to the county, you won't find a lien on it.
So when this thing sells in a tax sale, I mean, how does this all work when it's got this lien that nobody knows on it and so on and so forth? I don't
I
understand.
wondered that myself.
Well, TennCare, once they're put on notice, I think it's 12 months that they have to do something. And if that 12 months lapse, then now the question is, and I don't know much about this.
Because this lien would have been years back, right? I mean,
Yes,
a long time
yes.
back.
At least probably, I'd say 2008 or longer.
In the probate proceedings, we had to clear up the fact of liens on TennCare, and there is a form that you fill out legally and send to, I would assume the state or something that, yeah, that says there's no liens or there are
You
liens.
get a lien.
Right,
And I think the problem is the estate was never probated,
Correct.
is what I got from Martha Brooke today. But I think she had said that James maybe has sent some letters, or that Larry or somebody had sent some letters to TennCare. And if that's true and they were put on notice.
That would have been, if Larry did it, that would have been some time ago.
Well, I know that he approached them on behalf of the heirs, and they made an offer on it, and they refused their offer. So, so now the heirs are not, because they wanted, this lien's like $100,000, and the property, it was not worth that. But they wouldn't accept their offer from the heirs either, so they said they didn't want it, so that's why it's just stopped, and they were told to quit paying taxes and everything else on it, because they just lose their money.
And Bubba's not here anymore, but it may be that the family wants to hire legal counsel to look into that. I don't know what the property is worth, that's why I was asking about the acreage.
It's small.
Oh, it's small.
We can look it up on the GIS next door.
Like
And I
a
looked
half
it
acre maybe,
up
or
on the,
You
tax
think it's an acre?
assessors.
I bet
It
it's an
was
acre.
showing that
I
it
bet
was
it's
a
an
large
acre.
lot, it's
Property
probably
line.
just been subdivided.
That's
and
still
shown
big.
on
The
there.
power line is gone.
And the other house that has no siding on it, that's owned by a lady in Nashville. And, I mean, it's got doors, windows, it's kept mowed. It's other than it doesn't look really pretty, but she's.
Nothing else we can really
No,
do.
she's in compliance. But,
But
yeah.
that's the old schoolhouse there. And that house is on, if you're going up this way, that house would be on your left, and the Ivy property would be on your right.
The schoolhouse up there.
But I'm just gonna,
It's very
I'll give y'all a little info.
All right.
I've got something real quick. I didn't realize it until today, and y'all probably wouldn't want me here, because I probably would be over here having little tears running down my face, but I will be moving my daughter into Butler University next month, during the council, I know. So Martha Brooke graciously said, I don't think they want to have you there that night before you move her the next morning, so she'll be here. But she wanted to make sure that y'all don't have anything, you know, no firings, no anything unusual for the month of August, so.
We've been saving them all up for when Martha Brooke came, so.
So is David Letterman gonna be with you?
David Letterman?
David Letterman didn't go to Butler. He
I
went
thought
to,
he went to Butler.
yeah, he went to Ball State.
Ball State.
Ah.
No, Butler would be far too fancy. He would.
Yeah,
David Letterman, so.
It's funny, I had Googled famous people that graduated from Butler University, and Jim Jones was on there. Y'all remember who Jim Jones was?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Kool-Aid Man, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, well, there you go.
But Kurt Vonnegut as well. So Kurt Vonnegut, probably a better legacy than.
The Jim Jones. Maybe not as well known, I
Here you
don't
go,
know.
Wade, that's a Kool-Aid.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. We have surplus?
No, we didn't. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's go watch Donald Trump.